Hello, I'm Brian, MTG Rom. Here's my good buddy.
Hi, this is Jon. I'm from commandtower.tk.
Well, anyways, Jon and I are going to go ahead and have a quick look at each one of the 5 decks. And stay tuned right after the break.
Check it out.
And here is the blue-red Seize Control deck.
That's right. This is the Izzet League on Ravnica.
All right.
Masters of casting spells and having things explode on them.
All sorts of wonderful Tesla stuff. Honestly, yeah.
If you're into steampunk, this is probably your guild.
Most definitely. As with the other ones, we do have the oversized foil again for the primary commander.
Definitely.
In this case, it is Mizzix.
Mizzix.
Ignamus?
Mizzix of the Izmagnus.
Izmagnus.
That's correct.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Our secondary would be
Arjun the Shifting Flame.
All right, and he is
He's a Sphinx wizard. He's a Sphinx wizard.
Okay. And our third one, which again is the reprint. And this is Melek.
That's Melek.
Izzet Paragon.
Very cool guy. Would have been the maze runner for the Izzet League on Ravnica, but he ran afoul of a planeswalker. Ralzarek decided that he would rather run the maze.
Indeed.
And kind of absorbed Melek's magical energies.
Gotcha. Anyways, let's go through the primary commander for this blue-red Izzet deck first.
So she is a goblin wizard.
Right you are.
She's 2 generic, a blue and a red for a 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell with converted mana greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get one.
Yep.
So, starting at 0, that will go off with whatever you cast and then continue to go up.
Right you are.
And instant or sorcery spells you cast cost 1 generic mana less for each experience counter you have. Now, let's look at Arjun briefly. Honestly, one of my favorite cards in this set of 5 decks. He is 4 generic, a blue and a red for a 5/5 flyer.
Right.
And whenever you cast a spell, you put the cards in your hand on the bottom of your library, and then you draw that many cards.
That is good cycling.
Now, a lot of people are like, well, why would I want to use that? That is going to tear down any semblance of a strategy I may have. But if you're playing blue-red, you're going to fill your deck up with a ton of spells, lots of which can be cast at instant speed.
Yep.
And you can if you're going to be casting instants, you can cast them in response to this trigger going on the stack.
Gotcha.
Continue to cast spells, and then flow through your deck until you have a new hand of cards that you can do it all again with.
That keeps it nice and fresh.
That's definitely true.
Yeah, there's certainly an advantage to that.
And of course, there's Melek.
Right.
Melek is the returning guy. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You can cast the top card of your library if it's an instant or sorcery. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your library, you copy it and you choose new targets for the copy.
That's great. And this certainly does have synergies with both of these.
Definitely. In terms of the commanders, this is probably, if not the most synergistic between the 3 creatures, it's definitely close.
I'll agree to that. It seems that some of the other Commander 2015 decks, pre-constructed decks, have Mode A or Mode B, but this seems to be have more of a flow-through comparatively to the other ones. Yeah.
Definitely. Yep.
Now, let's pull out some of the interesting things that are in this deck.
Definitely.
Again, there's 15 new cards here. And we're going to look at just a couple of them, right?
Well, there's definitely quite a few interesting ones in this. One of the most interesting and one of the few cards in here that I think is probably pretty enticing to players of other formats is Mystic Confluence.
Right.
Mystic Confluence is the new the Confluence in this deck, obviously.
Right.
3 and 2 blue for an instant. You choose 3, and you may choose the same mode more than once. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand, or draw a card.
Right. And this had got a lot of attention and probably got floated out as one of the better of the 5 Confluences.
They're all good. I do like all of them.
Yeah.
This card is extremely good.
I love it. Sounds good.
So that's the next thing I definitely want to mention is probably Mizzix's Mastery. This card has gotten a lot of attention since this deck came out. Mizzix's Mastery says, exile target card that's an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. For each card exiled this way, copy it, and you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost, and then exile Mizzix's Mastery.
Gotcha.
So, for 4 mana, you can recast something that's in your graveyard for essentially free, like you're paying the 4, but it turns into something else.
Right.
But the Overload is where this card really shines.
Oh, yeah. That's a finisher.
In a heavy instant and sorcery-based deck, you could be casting upwards of 10 or 12 spells very easily. I have seen this card go off in a deck that's been specifically constructed to abuse it.
Oh, yeah.
This card is ridiculous if you let the Overload go off.
The bee's knees.
And let's look at this here. This is an interesting card. Seal of the Guild Pact. It's an artifact card. 5 mana. As it enters the battlefield, you choose 2 colors, and each spell you cast costs 1 generic less to cast for each of the chosen colors that it is.
Ain't too bad.
So the interesting thing about that is that card could technically work in any of these decks.
Certainly. Yeah.
But it really shines in a deck like this where you're already reducing costs because it just allows you to push that much further.
Yeah.
If you play this alongside your Mizzix and your Mizzix has 3 or 4 experience counters up, you're basically able to cast whatever you want out of your deck.
Gotcha.
And the interesting thing I should also point out is if we look back at Mizzix's Mastery here, this Overload can be reduced by by cost reducing effects.
Gotcha.
So you can definitely use things like this in tandem with things like this.
Right.
And it's very cool. And I guess lastly we should probably look at this card. This is a reprint that is from the original Zendikar block, actually.
Okay.
And Rite of Replication is...
And Zendikar block had the kicker.
That's true.
People love the kicker.
Kicker is... Well, it's returned 3 or 4 times now, actually.
Right.
And it's something that people love because it just allows you to get extra power out of your spells.
Right.
So, for 2 and 2 blue, you put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature.
Yeah.
That's all well and good. But... Kicker 5, so you can pay an extra 5 as you cast the spell. And if the kicker cost was paid, you put 5 of those tokens onto the battlefield instead.
Great late game. If you've got the 9 mana, and obviously, you know what, you're certainly going to have that kind of resource in your mana pool later game. Yeah, that could swing.
And the thing that's interesting about this deck is fairly light on creatures by comparison to some of the other ones. But you can choose your opponent's creatures with this spell.
Yeah.
If you want to put out, your opponent's got a acidic slime that blows up an artifact creature or land, and you want to make 5 of those and totally wipe the opponent, do it.
Anything with enter the battlefield effects, too.
So good.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. A powerful deck. I probably wouldn't be altogether happy going up against something like this.
This is, in terms of the 5, it's definitely one of the more focused. Again, there are definitely some changes you would want to make to this, not the least is the land base. Right. As we were talking about before, land bases are not entirely optimized in these, but they're not terrible.
Right.
But they definitely could stand to be improved a little bit. It does have a reliquary tower, which is a nice thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, good. I'm glad they were also putting command towers out with the decks as well.
I'm fairly certain that a command tower is going to come in pretty much any multicolored commander deck that comes from Wizards.
Absolutely. Okay.
It's been coming out since the first set of 5, and the only time that we missed them was in the monocolored decks that came out last year.
And they're still creeping up in price just a little bit.
What can I say?
Not unreasonable.
I named myself after good cards.
Exactly. Anyways, a good investment, like catching spells, doing some burn, doing some counter. This deck has got it all for you. The Seize Control and Izzet colors for blue and red.
Great deck.
Great deck. Okay, make sure you go ahead and watch another one of our videos.
They are all coming up.